This week, I've been updating the character portraits in my game from the temp AI art to more final art so that Steam doesn't nuke my house, some further adjustments to combat, and added a whole new class roll system that I'm probably going to throw out anyway. Welcome back to the Devlog series for Circle of Orion, a turn-based RPG that I am making in Unreal Engine. I did it, guys! 2 devlogs in 1 month!
I am the greatest!
If you'll pardon me, I happen to have made a chili cheeseburger that I am enjoying while recording this because I am having lunch late. Not as good as Whataburger, but it'll do. So, first things first, with the news of Steam being a lot more strict with AI content now, I decided it'd be a good time to go ahead and update the character portraits. So, that's what I've been going through, is updating specifically the dialogue portraits and then getting some different expressions for the characters. So, as you can see, I've already got a variety of character expressions. And what's neat is I wrote the code so that the way it works is I don't need to individually reference all of these. All I gotta do is in the dialogue, I write this expression command. Then inside the character folder, I have this talk folder. And inside that, I just need to do talk PO underscore character name and then underscore the actual command that I want to call, and it'll call up that expression. The expressions themselves are broke down into several different pieces so that I can customize them pretty easily without needing to hand draw every single piece. So I have the first set of portraits done for the characters I talked about in the last devlog, as they're going to be the main ones. And from here on out, I essentially just need to add more expressions and stuff when I need, but I already have plenty to get started on. And now, as you can see, the portraits are appearing in-game where appropriate. I've also made some other updates to the dialogue system, like I have emoticons working. For some reason, the expressions are not loading in all the way. I've also updated the dialogue box and speaker box, but I don't really like them. I mean, obviously they're not totally working now, but even then, I don't know if I'm totally happy with them. But I've added prompts for a log, fast forward, and autoplay, none of which work yet. Next up, we have some changes to the battle system, which, as you can see, one of the first ones is we have an actual splash animation. Next up, as you can see down in the corner, we have a new Analyze ability, which allows us to open up and see information based on the character we're looking at. Obviously, still a work in progress, as it's showing a leveling meter, which we don't want. Some icons for attributes are missing, though that's on the main screen as well. One thing I added, by the way, for on the stat screen is I added this little progress bar for stat to show kind of how close it is to a max, and it's a nice way of quickly visually identifying, without necessarily needing to read all the numbers, who has kind of the maxed out on what stat. So if you want to go for someone with high strength or high defense or whatever, it's an easy way to quickly see that as you scroll through your party members. Another thing you might notice that I haven't really talked a ton about, I don't think, is this little red meter right here, and this is your aggro meter. So a lot of the combat in the game is balanced around positioning, number one, getting your characters in a specific position to perform attacks or to avoid attacks, but also managing who the enemy will be attacking with aggro. Now, as you do normal attacks, which I can't really see with this, but let's just go ahead and use an ability. Let's say, I don't think Yell Slash quite works yet, so we'll say Taser, because I know that works. We'll use the Taser. Now, even though it didn't actually do anything visually, as you saw, one, it consumed SP for him, but also, his red aggro meter just went slightly up. As you perform actions like attacking enemies, your aggro will increase, and that'll make that character more likely to be attacked. Alternatively, you have some characters like Matilda, who have abilities that can raise her aggro, like, where is it? Rally, taunt, there it is. Taunt, which is, what is going on there? Ah! Taunt. And see, it greatly raised her aggro, so now characters are going to be a lot more likely to attack her. Now, what you saw there with that little shadow effect, that is the stance system not working as it's supposed to. So stance in this game is essentially an attribute that's unique to enemies, and it's essentially showing how it's effectively their stagger meter. So when depleted, it'll essentially knock out their next turn. And so that's kind of your balance in the game is, do you want to do more damage to their stance and disable them for a turn or two, or do you want to attack their HP directly? When their stance is broken, they are weaker to attack, so attacks do more damage, but it's ultimately up to you. Next up on the field menu, you might be able to look up there on the top right and see a bunch of little icons showing different things. Now, those are just quick access menus. So if you open up your menu, you know, you have your normal options for things you can click on, things, you know, your sub-menus. But if you want quick access to them on PC, you just go ahead and hit whatever the corresponding number is. So O opens up the settings menu. You have J for the journal, which doesn't exit. Lastly, we have party, and obviously the party screen is mostly the same as I've shown it before, but with something new. So when I go over to text now, rather than showing a list of texts that you can purchase, you now have this thing right here. So this is called the role system. It's sort of like a class system where classes are locked to specific characters. So the way you would work is that in between battles, you would go here and you would select a role, and whenever you gain XP is applied to that role and slowly ranks it up. So as you can see here, you have different abilities that you get as you rank up. So level 1 for Champion of Dawn is this Shimmer Strike ability, which does 2 times damage with the light element. And if you get to rank 2, then you get a permanent increase to resistance. And resistance, it's essentially magical defense. If I go over to Leo, I have the Rogue and the Tactician, which Tactician doesn't have anything right now, so working on it. But the Rogue starts off with a +5 to speed. Then you also have Vanish, which reduces your aggro. Buff to dexterity, smoke bomb, which raises everyone's hit and evasion rate, which actually is what dexterity is. Matilda just has the guardian ability, which is the tank, effectively, where she can taunt, defense, iron guard, blah, 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 blah. And while we're on the topic of the role system, let's go ahead and talk about character building. Since this RPG has a linear story, I want to make sure that the gameplay has plenty of options or plenty of ways you can make choices in how you want to build your character. And one thing I had been planning on and am undecided on, but I still think is probably a good idea, is actually letting you have some customization over Ellen, your protagonist. In a similar way to how at the start of Kingdom Hearts, you have some options on how you want to build and progress Sora's character development. So this is kind of right at the start of the game here, and you have an option between these 4 pedestals, and these are tied into the role system. These are the 4 roles in addition to your primary role that you can have. So we have a warrior, which is still work in progress, but is the damage dealer. We have a rogue, which is what you saw with Leo, which has speed buffs and stuff for reducing aggro. Guardian here, same one as Matilda, all a bunch of defensive and taunting abilities. And then we have mage, which is mostly passive abilities because that boost your magical output. Because remember, magic in this game is not gained through character abilities; it's gained through grimoires and learning magic with grimoires. So as it is right now, after choosing your additional role, you gotta run over here, and these orbs are temporary, but here you get to choose your primary element. So I'll walk to fire as an example, because that's closer to how I'm going to... I think this has the most stuff done on it. But yeah, if I select on this, then if I accept this, I'll get the fire. I'll get attuned to the fire element. Now, naturally, Ellen will be attuned to light, because she is, the hero of light. But this will be sort of her additional element attunement, which means in this case she'll be weak to water but strong against fire attacks, and we get to learn fire spells faster for her. And these are some examples of the fire spells you could get. Obviously fire that does fire damage, but also empower, which increases your physical attack. So again, just an additional way of building out your character. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to keep the role system, because in a lot of ways it does overlap with the way you learn magic with grimoires, kind of making it redundant. What I'd like is 2 systems, one that's sort of built specifically for individual characters, making them unique, and a second system that is built for customization, that you can decide how you want to adjust that character in a way that's specific to your playstyle. But at the very least, I am testing it out for right now, and I might include the role system in the demo and just see how it goes over. That's the main stuff I have worked on in the past 2 weeks. This month's Devlog Shoutout goes to Paperclay by YDev. This is a 3D platformer using a papercraft style similar to Yoshi's Crafted World. In his most recent devlog, he talked about how it took him 16 months to figure out exactly what type of game he's making, which is a pretty relatable problem for a lot of developers, I think. He's gotten a respectable amount of views on several of his videos, but only has 3,500 subscribers, so definitely go and give this a look if it looks like something you'd enjoy. And of course, a reminder, my own 3D platformer, Liberty Belle, is coming out very soon, before the end of the month in fact, so be sure to go and wishlist that on Steam. All that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. As always, I very, very much appreciate you taking the time to indulge my little development updates here. I hope y'all have a great day, and I will chat to you later.